Hello everyone, my name is Jacob Navarrete, and today I'm going to be speaking on a topic that's very near and dear to my heart, in which many of you may or may not be familiar with. So I'm going to start off by asking you guys a question. Have any of you ever just woken up and just not felt right at all? Like, I'm talking about not ill or with the cold or the flu. What I'm talking about is just not feeling like yourself, no drive, joy, and you just feel like a zombie. Most of the time it hits you like a tsunami when you least expect it. And I can remember many times I'd be having a great week, and then the next day I just wake up and feel like I'm in a rut and just I couldn't like do my daily activities. And it would go on for days, sometimes weeks, even months, and I didn't know what it was. What do you guys think the problem was? Was I insecure? Was I unhealthy? Did something drastic happen in my life? No, it didn't. Okay, so now that I have many of you guys thinking, what's going on? What's he getting at? I'm falling asleep. The topic I'm getting at is depression. Depression is a serious mental health issue and is now an epidemic, and it's just rapidly growing and increasing as the years go on. Now, depression doesn't care who you are. It doesn't care about race, it doesn't care about gender, it doesn't care about age, it doesn't discriminate. And affects all walks of life. In a community-based study by Compton 2006 on American adults, it found that 1 year prevalence of MDD, which is depression, rose from 3.33% to 7.02% in a span of a year. And the same thing happened in 2001 and 2002. Another huge stat, according to Professor George Christodoro, that 1 in 10 people will suffer from major depression, and 1 in 5 people will suffer from a variety of depressions throughout their life. The purpose of my speech is to inform you guys on the seriousness of depression, and the 3 topics or 3 main points that I'm going to be talking about is what depression is and how to differentiate it between normal sadness and depression, and point number 2 is going to be recovery, and then point 3 will be how it's not just a sickness and it's a disease that you have to battle for the rest of your life. So for my first point is, how do we know if we're depressed or if we're sad? So normal sadness comes from people, places, and things. So if you lost like a family pet or you lost a family member, those are normal things to be sad about. Even losing your house that you lived in for 10 years, those are normal things to be sad about. But depression is like where you don't feel anything. So if you lost a family member and you don't feel anything at all, then that's obviously not normal. If you feel disconnected with the world, you feel like you have no purpose, nothing makes sense to you, everything's in place, everything's okay, but you're not okay. Your inside's not okay, your head's not okay, nothing's okay about you. And that's what depression is. My point number 2 is going to be recovery from depression, which is, I got a really good quote from Jordan Hoke, which is, I feel so disconnected from the world and I feel like no one even notices me or even cares about me. And that's exactly how you feel when you're depressed. And recovery for depression is different for everyone. No one's gonna have the same timeline. It can take days, weeks, years, months, whatever. But the important thing to know is that you can recover from depression. And a study done by Cash in 2018 from Psychology Today, which is remarkably really good, is that almost 10% of 3,487 people that had depression 10 years later are alive and thriving from their depression. Also, with the recovery for depression, there are many things that people benefit from, which are therapies, medicines, and lifestyle changes. So there's multiple things that you can do in order to try to progress back to a balance where you're good with living rather than being stuck in that rut and there's nothing to do about it. For my point number 3, which is how depression isn't just a sickness, it's a disease. And something I got from Hopkins Medicine, Frank Angelino, was that 14.8 million people are suffering from depression right now. And something else that he said that was really important is that depression isn't a sickness. It's not gonna go away after a few days. It's gonna take time, effort, and dedication in order to beat it. But the thing to note is that no matter how long it takes, it is possible to recover from, and you can beat depression, and you just have to be vigilant with your recovery. Points were for learning about depression and that recovery is possible, how serious it is, and how to differentiate whether you have depression or not. And as well as that, as long as you stay vigilant on your recovery, it is possible to get through depression. And thank you all for listening to my speech, and I hope you guys can take some insight into anyone who's struggling with depression or if you're struggling with depression. So thank you guys.